We were very successful in keeping the housing market alive at a time when it had completely shut down. But a lot of folks are still losing their homes because they've lost their job. They're just having trouble making their mortgage payments. And what we've been trying to do is to get the banks to work with the borrower to see, can you adjust the mortgage so that if they're willing to make a payment, that they can stay in their homes.
Hasn't experience proven, though, that those interventions haven't worked, and basically the housing market has got to find its bottom and then get back up?
Well, this was the argument that Rick Santelli made. This is when he went on that rant about the Tea Party. And it is a fair economic argument that some people make that say, you know what, just leave it alone. And if people are losing their homes, they got to lose their homes. And if the housing market has to go down another 10%, just let it go down another 10%, and eventually it'll find bottom. That's an argument that's being made out there. I guess my job as president is to think about those families that are losing their home, not as some abstract numbers. I mean, these are real people who worked really hard for that house. And, we think it's very important that speculators, people who are just trying to flip condos, et cetera, that they're not getting help. We think it's very important to acknowledge that some people just bought too much house. They couldn't afford it. And it's not fair for the rest of us to have to subsidize them because of bad judgments and mistakes that they made. On the other hand, we also think it's important to recognize that if you've got communities where you've got every other house is foreclosed, that's bad for the economy as a whole. So these are all tough decisions. But the main point I want to make is that we are going to constantly re-examine what we're doing. We are open to new ideas that are out there. And if we think something's going to work to put people to work, then absolutely we're going to try to make it happen.
Let me ask you about two national security issues that are relevant to economic performance. Mm-hmm. One is Iran. Yeah. Markets watch very closely for evidence of stability or lack of stability in the Middle East.
Right.
Colin Powell said yesterday that even though we can't take any option off the table, the stars are not lining up for an attack on Iran by the United States, by Israel, or the two countries in combination. Has he got that right?
Well, General Powell's a very smart man, and I don't want to have a discussion about all the plans that we have in place to deal with Iran. Iran having a nuclear weapon would be a real problem. We passed the toughest sanctions against Iran ever. They are having an effect. We continue to be open to diplomatic solutions to resolve this. We don't think that a war between Israel and Iran or military options would be the ideal way to solve this problem, but we are keeping all our options on the table.
China, a very quick way to improve the competitiveness of U.S. exports would be if the value of China's currency rises. Is it time for you to be tougher than you have been so far on pressing the Chinese?
This is a real problem, and I want to just give everybody some background on this. China, its currency is valued lower than market conditions would say it should be. And what that means is essentially that they can sell stuff cheaper here, and our stuff, when we try to sell there, is more expensive. So it gives them an advantage in trade. What we've said to them is you need to let your currency rise in accordance to the fact that your economy is rising, you're getting wealthier, you're exporting a lot. There should be an adjustment there based on market conditions. They have said yes in theory, but in fact they have not done everything that needs to be done. We are going to continue to insist that on this issue and on all trade issues between us and China, that it's a two-way street. Look, it's good for us that China does well, in the sense that, first of all, having millions of people get out of poverty is a good thing for the world. It makes them more stable. It buys them into a world economy that can reduce tensions and allow our businesses to thrive. It's a huge market where we should be able to export a lot of goods. I mean, eventually, I want some of that, those nice monogram glass things to be in Shanghai and Beijing. But it's got to be fair. our trade relationship has to be fair. You can't just sell to us and we can't sell to you. And so we have been bringing more actions against China before the World Trade Organization. We are going to enforce our trade laws much more effectively than we have in the past. Not because I'm anti-trade, I'm pro-trade. I just want to make sure that trade is good for American businesses and American workers. And over the last several years, it hasn't always been.
Mr. President. Final question, because we're out of time and you've got to go.
I'm having so much fun, though. It's been a great conversation.
15 years ago, at a similar point in his presidency, Bill Clinton took the stage at a town hall in New Hampshire with Newt Gingrich, who was then the Speaker of the House. Are you willing to, and would you like to, debate John Boehner, the House Republican leader, before the election to lay out your two visions for the economy?
Well, I think that it's premature to say that John Boehner is going to be Speaker of the House. I do think it is very important for the country, as we go into these midterm elections, to understand that there's a choice in front of us. The other side, their basic argument is that if we go back to doing what we were doing before the financial crisis and before I was president, that we'd be in a better place. Now think about this. From 2001 to the time I took office, your average wages went down 5%. We took a record surplus under Bill Clinton and took it to record deficits. We had 2 tax cuts that weren't paid for, 2 wars that weren't paid for, that were hugely expensive. We put off solving health care costs that were skyrocketing. We didn't solve college tuition costs that were skyrocketing. We didn't have an energy policy. We were seeing jobs being shipped overseas because of the way our tax structure gave them incentives. Now, that was the agenda.
So
We have tried what they're offering. Now, I stay up every night and I wake up every morning thinking about the people who sent me into this job. And the single most important task I have is to make sure that the dreams of you and your families are realized. And so everything I'm doing is thinking about how do we grow this economy and how we grow this middle class. It has not happened fast enough. I know how frustrated people are. I know in some cases how desperate people are. But I also know this, that an economy that was shrinking is now growing. We have finally tackled tough challenges like health care that we had been putting off for decades. I have put forward proposals that are going to require bipartisan cooperation in order for us to get government spending under control. And I am confident that if we stay on a course that gets us back to old-fashioned values of hard work and responsibility and looking out for one another, that America will thrive, that the 21st century will be an American century again. But I'm going to need everybody's support. I'm happy to have that debate over the course of the next several weeks and for months to come. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Let me say hi to you.